message from Brittany that she would automatically put it.
Yes.
Okay.
Didn't happen last time, but hopefully it will happen this
Oh,
time.
okay.
Yeah, there's
Open
been some
the
issues
meeting.
with it.
Yeah.
This is a meeting
This
of,
one's
Yeah.
broken.
This is an open meeting of the Berlin Historical Commission. It is May 31st. The clock says 10:05. I have 10:07. That's pretty close. And we are being recorded as far as we know.
Okay.
We hope we have. I'm going to take notes as though we are.
Okay.
Do you have an extra pen?
Oh,
And
sorry.
attending is Ellie.
Here?
And Barry, Janet,
Here.
and Lucy, and myself, and we have Paul McKelk today, too. Okay. So, the purpose of this meeting is to go over all our projects that we're tracking and refine them a little bit and see what more we have to do to move them forward. Any questions before I just want to start with the septic because that's been on our minds for so long. Okay, so Lucy, I will take advantage of your report and the estimate that you have.
Okay. So, met on May 28th with Paul Wheeler and Al Roseberry to go talk about the septic, and we did a site visit there and to make sure all the stuff. Al measured the distance from the house to the septic and determined that it would be, the slope would be 1/8 inch per foot, which is the minimum amount that you can do. Typically, they want 1/4, but this is what they can do. And what that does is, as Al mentioned, is allows for the drainage of the solids into the tank.
Tell me who was there besides Al, because I was
Paul.
getting stuff out on Paul.
Paul and me. Yeah, got most, this is all here, so you
Yeah.
can just
I'm
use
gonna do
that.
very cryptic notes, and if it turns out that the system wasn't working, then we'll go by memory.
Okay.
Because I wanna.
Well, you'll have her report, you can put that right in.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Just put that in there.
Perfect.
So,
can get it
Al
tomorrow.
did not give Al will be part of this. He will have to do the connections from the
House.
the house to the tank,
Yeah.
from the first tank to the second tank, okay? And and also, whatever connections he has to do in the house. He did not give me a quote on that, but he said he will probably donate some of the materials, but not all of them. And he will be supplying, some information. It'll be well under $10,000, I'm sure, because he's pretty good about that. So, I verified that the tank, I got some pricing for the tank dimension, for the tanks. Also, what we did is that we kind of, if you go to the Bullard House, you'll see that we laid out some bricks so that you can see approximately where a
The placement.
1,500-gallon tank would go, okay? That could change depending on what we find. If we find that there's too much ledge in there and that we can only fit a 1,000-gallon tank, then we would readjust, and Paul might talk about that later, I'm not sure. So what we found out, there's two types of tanks. There's an H10 and an H20. And H10 is basically, the thickness of the walls are 3 inches, and an H20 is the thickness of the walls are 6 inches. And that's if anything's going to be driving over that, which we don't expect it to because it's going to be in the back. The only thing that we might expect, and I
For
put this...
repairs, if
What?
we have repairs and drainage,
mm-hmm.
there might be equipment that would go over.
Well, you want to, the pricing is different. I didn't get a price for
Yeah.
a 6-inch.
I'm just thinking,
I mean, I have a regular H10. Most people have H10. H20 is I talked to Paul about this, Paul Wheeler, and he said that if, I mentioned that the parking, with the, handicap accessible parking, it might extend the parking lot to the edge of the tank, which would probably require an H20.
Yeah, that would put a lot of, the
A lot of
fill
weight.
of, under that parking lot would put a lot of weight in that area.
Yep, correct. So that's, I did not get pricing for an H20, but that's something that we can do later on. I did get pricing for an H10 1,500 gallon and an H10 1,000 gallon tank, which is well under the $1,800 that had been mentioned previously. And it is a one-chamber standard, it's a one-chamber tank. I verified that with Bill Brookings this morning, saying that, yes, it is a chamber that's been spec'd, and he said he sent that out, but I didn't see it, but I looked at the drawings from Ross, and I think it's Ross or T.F. Moore, and I can't remember. And it did not specify a two-chamber tank, which would be good. So now the issue comes up is, do we find ledge? If we find ledge in there, I told Paul, stop digging. If we find ledge that he cannot, get through, stop digging. That's a separate issue that we'll deal with later. I don't have a price for the cost of a ledge tank because Wachusett Precast doesn't do that, and a couple other, it's usually a large place, and Paul Wheeler said that he had gotten one from some place in Woburn one time, the last time that he'd gotten a ledge tank. Paul can verify more about that than I can. So, so I'm back on number 5 here. So if the parking lot is extended, then it would be an H20 tank, more than likely. So I did ask, when I talked to Paul, I asked him to provide an estimate not to exceed $9,990, and he did.
He
And
must
that
not
doesn't
like me.
include the tank.
No, I just didn't, I've married an engineer.
I know.
I worked with engineers, so I just,
But it is frustrating.
Yes, it
I
is.
could save myself a lot of
Right.
anguish and
Oh, maybe
time.
not. I think-
Maybe I softened the whole
In
thing
other
up.
I
words,
think-
he feels he can do it for that kind of a price.
Yes, he does. And he did estimate, if you take a look at that, he does include the cost of the materials, which I had told him he could exclude them if he needed to, but he did include them.
What about but not the tank?
Well,
Yes.
materials would be tank, wouldn't it?
That's what I hope.
That,
I just wanted to make sure.
well, that's what, it does not exclude anything.
Okay.
And if he meant to exclude tanks, I'm pretty sure he would have. All right, so again, number 8, if he finds ledge, stop digging, we'll address it as a separate issue. I did ask him for possible dates for the beginning of the excavation, which he didn't get. And then Paul McCalk has been saying often that the Board of Health would work with us if variances are required. Like if we need if we could use a smaller tank in that space, it would help out. And that's it.
It's it's good. Seems pretty complete
If I
to
could
me.
make one comment?
Yes.
With the extension of the parking lot, we ran into this at 19 Carter. Phil from the septic system was going to go over the tanks, and we had gone with the design was for the lighter duty tank. So how we got around that legally was we built a wall that held up the end of the septic system so it didn't cover the tank. And I personally would advise, if that's a similar situation, that that's what's done, because if at some point in the future you ever have to replace the tank, now you have all this fill from the parking area over it, and it becomes a humongous job.
Yeah.
So, and we don't have the dimensions on the parking area yet, or
Yeah.
that, so that's something to be looked at, but.
We have the basic dimension on it, and we can see how it compares with what they've got laid out in the bricks.
Yeah.
But even so, it involves a major retaining wall.
Yeah, one way or another, there's gonna have to be.
And
one.
probably we better make the retaining wall go down far enough so that it isn't gonna be, so that if the tank had to be dug up, there'd be a wall there to hold it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I agree.
That's gonna add cost to that.
They may be able to do that wall with existing stonework.
Yeah.
I mean, an excavator with the thumb, I mean, it might not be work that Paul does, it might be somebody else, but
Yeah.
it's,
We got lots
eminently
of
doable.
rocks.
Yeah, there are lots of rocks.
The one thing that I forgot to put in here is that Paul said that he would, once he digs for the tank, that fill will be removed, and he will fill it in with appropriate material that would, be more absorbent, I guess, right?
Well,
Or
not
whatever,
absorbent, but
but-
probably less boulders and things, so
Yeah.
it'd be a softer backfill.
Easier to dig up the
You-
next
Yeah,
time.
that's
Yeah,
it.
and you don't wanna break the tank with boulders dropping out of a bucket or anything
Yeah.
like that, cause that's pretty sketchy material there.
Yeah.
So he'd just bring in, clean dirt.
Um, Okay. And what about the timeline?
I did not get that yet.
Yeah,
I'm not done. We'll find out more. He's working right now at on Carter Street at Dynamic, so.
This is bringing us right up pretty much to the timeline that he tossed us more casually in the very beginning of this project. So it may be that it's going to come out exactly as it was supposed to anyway. Be interesting to see.
So, that's all I have to say.
Well, thank you, Lucy. We're most successful.
The parking lot wall,
Teamwork.
as it's shown on the plans that have been made, would be a little bit closer to the street than the front of the barn next door. You can kind of sight it off the barn next door, so it's kind of even with that, or only a little bit closer to the house. And, which gives us a general handle on that, but the practicality of actually doing it, that could vary, needless to say.
Once the tank is installed, how urgent is that wall? I mean, we need to have a plan in place to do that
Yeah.
within, a couple of months, or,
That remains up in the air, but it really needs to be, we really need to deal with the retaining wall underground around, in the vicinity of the tank in order to protect it.
I don't want to get ahead, but I think the Hancock proposal addresses
It does.
coordinating, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So we can make sure we talk about that when we get to
Okay.
Hancock. Okay, so we need a
It says
time.
prepare site plan set showing proposed improvements, including location of septic tank provided by Ross Associates.
It doesn't say the wall. Improvements,
Have we even told them about the wall?
Well,
Well, they
the
should-
second one, it says design elements shall include parking, vehicular, and pedestrian access.
What page are you on, Ellie?
yeah,
It's
we really
phase
shouldn't
B
get off the rails
3.
too much here.
Number 2 and number 3. So, we just need to make sure that the septic system and the parking, vehicular, and pedestrian access and site layout are
Yeah.
coordinated.
Okay, well, I can make sure that he understands there will be a retaining. I think he does, but doesn't matter. I'll make sure that he includes that.
Yeah, but we've got to include some engineering here.
So how is this gonna work? Because the parking lot, I mean, I think the parking lot is being some part of the town hall issue. That was something that should have been, or could have been done if they had enough money then.
Yeah.
But now, why is, now that's affecting what we're doing here as a commission. So, how do you join these two together? Because this shouldn't be just our problem,
It's not just our problem.
but we're dealing with it.
If I may, I
Please.
met with Kristen yesterday on a variety of things, and Bullet House and 1870s, I brought them up. because you've got Hancock, you've got the Complete Streets thing, and I said, who's herding the cats? Somebody's gotta be coordinating all these engineering firms. Somebody's gotta be overlooking it to make sure that sequencing is right. Now, from a Board of Health standpoint, I don't wanna see anything over that tank, personally.
No.
I think that's a bad mistake.
Yeah.
And if that changes the upper parking, so be it. You know, there are just safety and health concerns, you know. It sounds a bit extreme, but you don't wanna have a tank rupture inadvertently from unnecessary weight. And if you have to sacrifice a parking spot up top, you know, sorry, but maybe that's the way to go.
The thing that, the design that we had has a ramp coming down to the Bullet House along that wall, so that pushes the wall closer to us. It might be possible to design that ramp so that it was not solid to the ground under it, but rather built across in that area, so that,
I'm not
so
following.
that the,
What do you mean solid to the ground?
So it's got supports underneath it.
Well, just go ahead and explain what you mean by solid to the ground.
all right, the parking lot's gonna come out to here.
Yep,
We're gonna have a ramp built on the outside of that, which becomes then, that's where the retaining wall is, beyond the ramp. It would be possible to take a section of this ramp and not have this wall back here, so it's further away from the ramp, the tank, and build it as a bridge, part of the ramp as a bridge, so that it's not solid to the ground underneath the whole ramp.
okay.
That would be a way that we
Okay.
could move it back a little bit, 4 feet at least back from where the tank is. And that might just do the trick with that, but it also means that designing the ramp is gonna be trickier.
Well, the problem is, that we have a small lot to work
Oh,
with.
yeah.
So we knew that we were gonna have issues with space.
Yeah.
It's just that they're expensive.
Well, before we found out that we needed this tank, it wasn't,
It wasn't quite as
but
critical,
the
yeah.
additional tank is complicated it.
I want to address Paul's concern about coordination
Yeah.
and herding.
The cats.
Did Kristen indicate that Steve Tyler would be interested in?
Steve Tyler, she didn't mention that name, I don't know who that
The
is.
HS
Steve Tyler is the
HSH.
gentleman who came from HSH and met with us in.
Is that the Complete
in-
Streets?
Yeah.
He is the
Oh,
one
he's
that
the Complete
coordinates,
Streets,
yeah,
huh?
yeah.
He's doing design work for that.
And he
right?
met with us here and went to the Bullard House.
Yeah.
So far, he only has a planning proposal into the town, not any kind of plan.
Okay.
He's a long ways away from a plan
Oh, yeah.
because he hasn't talked to any representatives of 1870, of 19 Carter, of the library, of the general store, or First Parish Church. And all those entities should have some say in what Complete Streets is trying to accomplish, because they're all investors in it. So, I mean, that's a ways away. And I have a copy, and it's a proposal, planning proposal. And it includes, I think one public forum, which I'm not sure is enough, but, you know, at least it's being addressed at some level. So, at this point, I don't know if he's the guy that's gonna do it or not. Probably, because I guess Kristen has some experience with him, but, it's still, you know, several steps away from any kind of, cementous document.
I would think the key thing that project would have to do with is how the end of the driveway deals with the street and any sidewalks.
I personally wouldn't wanna see a sidewalk in front of the Bullet House. It would,
I wouldn't either, but we may be stuck with it.
you know, it should stop at the driveway, because now you're gonna have to have a retaining wall in front of the Bullet House. And, you know, ka-ching, 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 and maybe you move the crosswalk, you know? I mean, there are several ways to approach this, and just
Yeah.
because we see painted lines doesn't mean that's where they have to go.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where somebody has to be kind of overlooking all these details.
Yeah.
My understanding was that was why we were sort of chatting with Steve to see if it seemed like he would be a good candidate for that. But that hasn't gone anywhere beyond that?
No.
And I don't know, I mean, it seems like that's a key thing right now, is to have the overseer of all who is experienced. and-
Well, that's why we asked Kristen to,
Yeah,
to-
but we
to
don't know how
weave in.
far we've come with that.
We haven't
The
Nobody-
covered-
last experiments that were done about complete streets in the center of town did not result in anything that had a lot of public support.
Oh.
Well,
Basically, it was really panned.
It seems to me that the overseer, I don't know what the right term is a key thing right now. And,
well,
we
I
need to get
expected.
cracking on that.
Yeah, I expected Kristen to attend this morning, but perhaps she can't. And I was going to ask her if she thought we could pursue.
She's pretty out straight.
So I will make sure that I ask her in
Mhm.
another way. I might wait till Monday morning, because if she's not here now, she must be
Tied up with
busy,
something.
yeah.
well, we have another meeting in 2 weeks, right?
Yes.
Do we have any other candidates for, I don't mean
No.
official candidates, but other people that
No,
Not yet.
could handle that?
no, we don't.
Unless Paul would like to do it.
I keep looking over at Paul, and he keeps looking away. You don't want to force this on somebody who may not have any interest at all, but, yeah.
We've got enough so we don't dare start any of this.
To
Until
me,
we've
there's
got
just
that
not
figured out.
enough clarity yet.
Mm.
I told Kristen yesterday, I said, just stop the presses here.
Mhm.
Things need to be gathered a little more closely before any definitive action gets taken place. What I would like to see is the Hancock plan next to the plan that was done
Yeah.
during the elevator project, and start comparing things.
Yeah.
Because you might meld the ideas, an idea from here with an idea from that. Not, I'm not an engineer, but I've worked with a lot of engineers and
Sure.
architects, and they are kind of programmed. They're professional, they're a lot smarter on certain technical issues than I am, but they're not necessarily field smart. Like this guy Steve for Complete Streets, he's gonna have his mindset, what that should be, and that's gonna be overlaid on the town. But is that what the town really wants? All of this has to be tweaked from time to time.
And who-
Or actually in a continuing basis, so that you don't get ahead of yourself and go, oh shit, why did we do that?
And-
Because the engineer said so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
And we,
And the Ross Associate plan for this additional tank is so much, okay, that's lovely, but we gotta see whether we really can dig that hole in the ground.
Yep.
We've gotta see how it relates to these other things before we really know that's what will happen.
You don't know until you dig the hole. I mean, that's key right now. You gotta find out if you can, what has to happen to put the tank in there. There may be ledge, maybe not,
Yeah.
but that's step one. And then once you know where the tank is, now you can start intelligently looking at what the 1870 extended parking is, and what your limitations are.
Well,
It's
that's-
ABC.
yeah, and the word chronology keeps popping into my mind, that without us all agreeing and establishing, I mean, not to say you might not change it at some point for some reason, but to really have that chronology be our Bible. And I'm not sure that and that's, I think, what you're saying too. I mean, have we nailed down the order in which?
Well, I think the
These things
order,
should be done.
maybe you haven't nailed it down, but I think the order, obviously the tank, and then the tank is like the fulcrum or the pivot point. From that, you can then have a much better idea of what you can accomplish. And I would again impress, you don't wanna bury the tank.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
You know,
Yeah,
you
don't
gotta
bury
work
the
around it.
And the parking lot is not the complete streets.
No, no,
It is not,
that's a
that's a
separate
whole
thing.
separate thing.
Yeah, so
Separate
don't,
thing.
don't confuse the
Yeah.
parking lot with
Yeah.
the complete
No, but
streets.
they do interact. They do
Down at the bottom of the
dovetail.
driveway,
They
it's got to
do,
come together.
And that has to do with the drainage and
Yeah.
where they're
Yeah,
gonna put
absolutely.
the
Yes, it does. The other thing in this, Paul, it's of some interest in Board of Health, we've still got that old well there that we need to disable too.
Yeah,
It's
decommissioned,
in that, it's
right.
got to be done because that'll be buried by the parking lot.
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, Paul Wheeler said that he had taken out the pipes when he did that small
Yes,
hole.
but the well itself is still there. 'cause
The well
Barry-
needs to be
Barry
filled in
lost his
properly.
foot in it
He'd
the
cut
last
that
time we
pipe,
were-
yeah.
Oh, yeah, we almost lost him.
But the well itself has got to be dealt with. I've
Yeah.
been thinking, I've been wanting to speak to Bill Brookins to get the word on what we actually have to do to that.
Drop some of the boulders into
Was,
it.
was that a drilled well, Barry?
Yeah,
It was.
I believe so.
Hmm.
I think so.
Okay.
But it was, we had to disable it because it was too close to the septic
Septic,
and
right.
everything. And of course, now we're gonna have the septic right up against it, so.
Yeah.
At the time, we thought we might keep it to water flowers and stuff, but
It needs to be filled in
25
properly,
years ago, forget
as far
about
as
it.
I know.
We haven't done that yet, so why worry
Alright.
about it?
So,
Can this board access, you know, the old plans that were done by whoever was
Austin.
involved in the 1870
yeah,
project?
I've sent them to Hancock 3 times. They
Well,
were
I
the-
think
yeah.
you folks need to have copies of both those plans here.
Yeah,
We have, well, we can take the zip drive and have the copies made,
Yeah.
have hard
Okay,
copies
but-
made.
Not this size copy.
no, no,
You need-
yeah,
The big,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
No, it would
You
take
need
a-
construction,
The
Yeah.
construction drawings.
full-size
Yeah, the
copy.
big ones.
I mean, if I can do some of these little running to the printer to do things, let me know.
okay,
I'm good at that stuff. I don't understand the rest of it, but
so
I'm
we want,
good at that. So
we want
please,
prints
please,
of
June, let
Austin
me
design.
help with that kind of thing, if it falls on you to do those.
Because until you have those, some of this conversation could be a moot point, because you don't know the specifics of what's on those plans.
I've never sent them to you electronically.
Well, if you did, I only get this, and this
And you want-
doesn't work for me.
You
No,
want
no.
hard copies.
No, you
Okay.
need that.
We need architectural type, you know,
Architectural.
Yes.
Neshoba blueprint type
Yeah.
copies.
I mean, that would be good for all of us to see because,
Absolutely.
you know, I mean, we're trying to picture this and it's not working. I'm gonna throw something
June,
out
you know-
here.
You know
that-
which,
that-
just one more quick question.
I
You
know,
which
Barry.
plans these are?
I certainly
gonna
do.
throw it
I've
out
looked
there.
at
So-
them many times.
So,
Yes,
whatever, if you want help.
you should
We-
all, you
Yes.
should all have had a look at these, because I've sent them to you
Yeah,
Yeah,
several times.
Yeah.
I probably have them at home if I can dig them up.
And Paul may not.
we've
So-
had them, but it's also elusive if you don't remember where you put it last.
Well, you've got to help me out, guys.
Yeah.
You've got to keep track.
Yeah.
Because I can't keep track of everything.
I save everything, I just have to find it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, me too. That's true.
So I'm gonna throw something out here that I think we've kind of said that we have to have this. But what if we reconfigure the parking? I have some concerns about the handicap access going down that hill. I have some serious
Okay.
concerns.
Well,
You know, and I
Well,
know that you want to keep the Bullet House, I don't know, pristine or whatever, the view pristine. But I cannot picture anyone going down that hill with a wheelchair, you know, going down the access and around here like that. I cannot picture it. I cannot picture myself pushing somebody down there or have somebody who's in a walker
Well, you're not using the
going back
driveway
up.
with a wheelchair.
I'm not talking about the driveway, I'm talking about the handicap access that you're talking
Well,
about.
then,
Yeah.
it's going
You
to
know-
conform to the state standards, so
Yeah,
it'd be like the library.
Does that make sense though? I mean, what is the state standard? What, you know?
okay, we
Well,
can't
it's-
get
it's-
into that
I
right
know,
now,
but this
Lucy.
is something that we need to talk
It's the
about
sta-
because I
it's
don't
the
think that's,
standard- It's standard handicap ramps. It's
I
just that
think-
it's long.
It's code compliant.
And it does have a rest stop in the middle of it because it's more than 30 feet long.
I think we should reconsider it, though. But anyways, we don't have to do it today, but let's,
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
not on the agenda for today.
No, I know that.
Let me say this about it. Regulations are regulations. We have the practical side of that too. And the great example of it is here in this building when we have an election. Coming in from the parking lot, in the door, down the elevator, along the whole basement is all perfectly good handicapped access reg things
Yeah,
to do with a
it is.
wheelchair. But most of the people that have trouble with walking and stuff go down back and park by the back door so they don't have to go so far. It doesn't fit the regulations because there's a lip here and there's little things. But they still will drive down back and go in that way because then they don't have to walk so far. The trouble with the accessible route is it's just too far for a lot of people
It
based
is.
on their physical condition.
and that would be the
And
same.
I do
way.
understand that'll be the case with this, but we don't have a better answer. Because
We-
that's why we spent a lot of time on it before.
We spent months
We
on
don't
it.
have
No,
a better
no.
answer
That's
as to
too
where
bad.
we can put a parking space so that we don't have such a long way to get there. This is the best way to solve both problems. Even though I agree with you, that's a long route. But it is also, it is according to the regulations, so it's an accessible route that will work.
Yeah, I think we should reconsider, but we can move on, so.
Yeah, we
But,
do-
but
we
you,
do need to
I
move on.
understand your concern, and
Yeah.
I have the same concern, but sometimes you don't have a
and some-
better answer, that's all.
Sometimes we have to step back from it and picture ourselves in this setting, once if it would, and, whether there would be little moments where somebody would drop someone off, rather than putting a parking space down at the bottom, you'd be able to just swing over and drop somebody off. So it's not, it's not the perfect solution, because we're not really creating something that will always work. But I think we also have to keep in the back of our minds, how much help will people give somebody that they would be dropping off?
Yeah.
And maybe it's not gonna be as big a deal, I don't know. But that is just something to go, step back for a minute and think about, the little scenarios. What are all the different scenarios for getting people into that building? And some of them
Some of them will be
will be long.
unofficial,
and some-
unofficial and assisted.
Unofficial, that's
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
But I don't know that that's a good reason to not make it written in stone. I'm just saying that may be the reality,
Yeah.
that it won't be as hard for people as.
It's a case where you've got to fit the regulations. And just like our thing with the additional tank, that system doesn't need
Yeah.
another tank at all.
Yeah, yeah.
But because of the amount that we'll use, it will be so small.
Yeah.
But that's the regulation, and we've got to work with the regulation.
So the ramp
Yeah.
gives us the regulation,
Yeah,
but the people who will be there, like us, who probably will be volunteering to be there, those
May
people will
sometimes
make
do
it,
otherwise.
work for
Yeah.
people. That's not a good reason for not doing it right,
Yeah.
but it's something to keep in the back of our minds.
yeah.
Okay. Does anybody want to comment about the timeline for the septic tank installation? Do you want to just leave this totally open?
No, it'll never happen.
I don't, I really came to this meeting with the hope that we could move on with that, but the point that has been made
Yeah.
in regard to the parking lot and the potential for needing to have some retaining capacity to protect the tank from that is something that changes I'm not sure that we dare say we'll go ahead today. Because we've got to figure that one out.
Well, we can accept his estimate.
Yeah.
We can do that. I
Well,
will,
that's
I
a big
will
step.
remind everybody that there was a recommendation from Kristen that even though an estimate or a cost is under 10,000, that if you have if you have three estimates,
Yeah.
you cover yourself a lot better.
Yes.
Is there any concern that you want an estimate from anybody else besides Paul?
What's the danger in not having three?
If you go over 10, then we're in trouble.
Okay.
Then it
And
could
we
be
don't,
challenged.
we're not sure yet what
But
we're
we
running
also
into.
said that we could buy the tank separately,
And his estimate would include the tank.
yeah.
Yeah, so if we can change that.
The
If you
fact
want-
that we were
Fine.
gonna buy the tank separately could give us some wiggle room
Mhm.
under that 9,900.
Yes.
So
I
you
would
don't,
say at this time of year, everybody that does systems is very busy.
Yeah.
And if you take the time, which I don't think is necessary, to get additional quotes, you're just gonna drag this out because those quotes are gonna come in higher than what Paul has given you.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's much risk that anybody's gonna complain
No.
about not providing a quote for this particular job.
okay,
It's peanuts.
that's fine with me,
Sounds
because
good.
I
I
didn't
think
look
that's
forward to
right.
trying to drum up
Yeah.
other,
Yeah.
So, would it be possible for us to find out before the parking lot, before it's determined where the parking lot's actually gonna extend? Can we go in and do the digging for that to find out if there's any ledge that we could deal with that if necessary?
No, he just needs to show up and start digging for a tank, that's all.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay,
it's the only way you're gonna solve any questions or mystery.
That's
And
right.
if you uncover it, fine, then you go to Plan B and bring in Atomic Rock Splitting or somebody
Mhm.
else to take care of the ledge so you can get a tank in.
so we
Who-
can do that now without worrying about the parking lot?
I would say so, absolutely.
Good.
So, the
Because,
timeline.
excuse
Oh, I'm
me,
sorry.
because you have an existing tank you're connecting to, and you're gonna connect from the house. So those two factors really kind of dictate where this tank should go. So
Yeah.
that's the long and the short of it.
Also where the parking lot should go?
Well, the tank position,
it's the pivot.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you gotta get the tank in.
Okay, good. I'll talk to Paul.
Would,
Is there anything we can do to think forward about the wall? That,
yeah, that's the piece that, Paul, does it make any sense that we put the tank in and then we create a retaining wall next to it afterwards?
Does to me.
I
It
think,
makes sense to me.
Yeah.
We could put the retaining
Absolutely,
afterwards?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
so I'm just thinking of,
that's my piece that I'm concerned.
Yeah.
trying to line up
Sequence.
someone who would do that.
Do what?
Well, you're also gonna have to make a decision, what kind of wall. You want an ugly poured concrete wall, okay, which will take up less space, that's fine, but I don't think it's really in harmony with what you're trying to achieve here. And there's a lot of boulders on site, and, boulders can be, just look at the Woodlands, what they did with
They
boulders
could be
there.
part of the wall.
Yeah,
They are part of, they will become the wall. And maybe you cap it with some concrete for safety of parking up above, but it's gonna be less expensive to have somebody come in with an excavator with a thumb and build a boulder wall than a poured concrete wall, which, as a retaining wall, you will have to have engineered plans for. So,
Yeah.
those don't exist, so you're gonna have to spend money to do that.
And that can be done from above?
Yeah,
okay, so, well, we have to keep it in our sight, who and I'm pretty sure that we would all agree that we would want, laid up stone instead of concrete.
We would?
because at least
We
laid up
would.
stone, you could actually landscape that to some degree. There
Oh,
are
yeah.
plants that will
Yeah.
grow and just soften the look. You don't want this monolithic thing hanging there, I wouldn't.
One of the things that I've thought about for that wall is what they did at 495 across from the northbound ramps.
Yep, yep.
Though, something like that would work pretty
That's
well.
a definite possibility
Yeah,
too.
that kind of stuff.
Because all that requires is you dig down and create a trench with some, probably 2-inch stone for a base, and then you
Yeah.
start laying those blocks.
Yeah,
And that's, that's not a very difficult thing to do.
No.
Okay, so we have to keep it in our sights.
One thing we haven't talked about completely here is timeline. And I think as long as we just avoid the timeline, it's just not gonna happen. And so,
Well, I think you should get the
We
full-size plans for your next meeting and have them here.
Yeah.
yeah,
And I would get after Paul to get him in there as soon as he can to do the digging. Because until he does that, that's kind of holding everything up.
And that tank might move a foot or two,
It might.
depending on what he finds for holes.
so the first thing is to get the plans,
Well, the plans that Paul is talking about are Austin design plans.
Austin design plans.
Yeah.
Austin, was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's the next thing?
And that has to do with drainage, which isn't necessarily part of the septic.
No, but
No.
I'd want to
But you
compare
would-
Austin and Hancock.
You've gotta
Okay.
have it in
Putting
there.
those, picking and choosing the best alternatives from them.
Okay.
And maybe
Okay.
it's all one and all the other, I don't know.
So the first step then is to get the plans to compare Austin and Hancock.
Those are in the Dropbox, right?
Yes, they
Yeah,
are.
they are, yeah.
And then the next step is to do what in terms of the, once we've got the plans in our
Then you
hand?
get the septic system.
Yeah, we want a time, we want Paul to give us a time
Yeah, I'll call.
that he can start.
I'll
So
find out.
you will
I mean,
you will
whichever
ask
comes
him.
first, get Paul in there or get the plans, either
I'll
one can
text him,
come
but-
first.
Well, we can be doing both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Both. But the
Yeah.
thing with Paul
Text, I
is,
will.
we need to get that started. When he can, as soon as he can start it, we'd like him to.
Yep.
Okay, ASAP. Okay, now, is that enough for right now, or should we put down what's the third step?
Do you want to vote
Well,
to
we have to
accept this
accept
estimate?
the-
I
accept
move,
him
I
to do
move
the
to
work.
accept this estimate and recommend to Kristen that it be
Yeah.
implemented.
All right, let me
Yeah,
get
this is
straight.
CPA, so she doesn't,
She doesn't have to do CPA.
Huh?
this is CPA money that will pay for this.
Yeah,
So,
it's still procurement with town money.
well, it's less than 10,000.
It's still procurement with town money.
Well, I'll ask her.
Yeah, ask her. I mean, I'm talking about just dealing with the contract side of it.
Okay,
My basic understanding is any town work, the contract side of it goes through her office.
okay,
So
So-
second the motion.
I'd like to hear the motion,
okay.
spoken slowly, because I always get
Yeah,
them
I know.
exactly.
That
Okay,
that we accept this
So I move-
estimate from Paul Wheeler.
accept
and-
this estimate.
Recommended.
And recommend that it proceed.
It goes to CPA first and then to her.
Checking through the administrator, the town administrator. to
Proceed
with the thing.
checking through the town administrator. Checking through the town administrator.
Basically, my understanding is if you're hiring stuff, you don't, most anything like that gets signed by her.
So I
Well,
move
she
to
does
ac-
sign off on it, but CPA is the first
Yeah.
committee to get it, and they have to approve it.
Oh,
It goes, when I
Yeah.
submit this, and I didn't bring my form for us
Yeah.
to, well, we're not ready yet, okay. I'll,
I-
I'll, I'll get it to
Let me
you.
suggest that the motion include that it, recommend that it proceed with any town authority that needs to deal with it.
okay.
Second.
All right, wait a minute.
Well said.
Well, that's just to deal with,
Yeah.
if we get to her office and she says CPA first, or if you get the one,
Okay.
you know.
So here we
Whatever.
have it.
All of those
I
things.
move to accept this estimate from Paul Wheeler and recommend that it proceed with any town authority who needs to deal with it.
Yeah.
Who needs to sign, you
and-
could say sign off on it.
And, hang on a sec, who needs to deal with it, I don't know, to proceed.
Take
Check.
out deal with it and say.
Sign off,
approve
really.
it,
Okay.
or-
Yes.
I move to accept this estimate from Paul Wheeler. That part's good. And I recommend that it proceed with any town authority, stop me when you want me to change
Yeah.
it, who needs to deal,
To approve.
Who needs to approve it?
approve it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's it.
Yes, period.
'Cause,
APPROVE.
Paul, am I
IT.
correct that in regard to Board of Health and stuff, the plan that
Okay.
we had from Ross Associates has already been approved
Yes.
there? So therefore, as long as we're following that plan, we're all
Right,
set.
and if
Now-
a
When that has
change
to
has
modify, we
happen,
go
then
back to Bill.
cross that bridge at that time.
Yeah, yeah.
Right now, it's
We
good
go back to Bill.
Now, the part that's been knocked off of it, I don't know if you know that, but that, I want to make sure you don't want it on there. Let's see, with any town authority who needs to
Approve it.
approve it, checking in through the town administrator. Do you want that part on there?
No,
No, take that
Okay.
part out.
yeah.
And,
Okay, I think I got it.
yeah,
And Lucy will follow through with trying to get a,
yeah, and Lucy
A
can,
time.
Lucy can keep
Us-
bird dogging it because
Well, we
she's
need
making
to
it happen.
vote.
Hmm?
We need to vote.
Oh, yeah,
yes, oh, sorry.
yeah.
Lucy seconded the motion.
Lucy,
Yeah.
who made it? Barry?
Barry made, yes, and I'm sorry.
With
Yeah.
corrections.
Hanging motions, right? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimously
Unanimous
approved.
vote.
Yeah.
So now we ask that Lucy follow through with getting a timeline
Lucy.
from Paul.
And the burden's on my shoulders, I'll do it.
Thank you.
I'll do it.
Thank you for taking over this,
Oh,
this project of getting
And I'll
Paul to
work
do
with
what
June
we
on getting that
want.
plan.
No, I know.
and,
But you don't have to take it over, because he and I
Pulling
still
that
have
out
this
of that and
relationship.
getting the plan
So if
that
I
we
can be
need to
helpful
get
to jump in or come
The
with you
Austin and
sometime
the
if you're
Hancock
talking with
plan.
him.
I'll just.
Hancock hasn't given us any
No, no, no.
plans.
No,
We have a
no.
proposal.
This is the
Wanna
one
move
for
on?
Austin,
Yeah, yeah.
the parking
Oh,
lot
yeah.
plan.
I don't
Oh, yeah.
know
We
if
have to
it's
take it
successful
to,
or what, but-
Coffee
'cause I mean,
place.
I
Yeah.
have to-
I know. Don't worry, you did your
But
job.
It's all
All right.
part of the process.
We'll have to put it on we'll put it on a drive, bring it over.
What's this, the plans you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
The
think
set of
that,
plans that I have, the work plans, because that didn't end up in the final job, that sheet wasn't copied in. So we have to get one off of the electronic copy. that we did.
Well, there's several,
We don't have to do that now.
there are several views that we would want. It's more than one.
Okay, well, we'll work on that separately.
and I think Clinton Offset has that type of printer that they could do it.
Okay.
So-
How do you get reimbursed for these, though? You know, because,
Well,
I mean, the last time I spent my own money on it, which wasn't a lot, but nonetheless, I mean,
well, it could come out of our budget, I suppose. I don't really want to submit a bill to CPA for, $10.
No.
no, it should come
Yeah.
out of
I'll
our
give you
budget.
10.
We can, it can come in as, you need to write a slip,
Yeah,
or bring the slip that you paid,
Yeah.
and get that to June so we can do
I
a,
did already, I gave it to you.
oh, okay.
Well, you have a receipt, but we have to fill out a form and we have to sign off on it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine,
Yeah.
we can do that, doesn't it?
But you might want to wait till we have, so that we're not doing it several times.
Is this like an
So we
action
can put two or
statement?
three small things together on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Is this like an action statement that June and Barry will work on getting Austin plans?
Yep, we will.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's-
and distribute to everybody?
No, there'll
Just
be
one.
one set of copies, because it'll be way too much money to, well,
we'll-
maybe we could have two sets.
We'll get more than one, because we need to be able to have Paul and some
Yeah,
other people
yeah.
have one accessible.
June, do you want me to do that? Because I can,
You're gonna have to.
put it on a zip drive.
Let's
You're gonna have to
do
put it
this
on a
other,
drive,
and
yeah.
let's go on to other things, and
Okay.
we'll do that
And-
after the meeting.
and they'll-
Okay, good.
And I'll
Off
put
we
him
go.
on it to Lucy.
Okay, the second project is that bathroom leak.
is the roof.
Well,
Bathroom leak.
When I hear bathroom leak, it starts to make me think about plumbing instead of the roof.
I thought you
I
were
just
gonna
want to
say-
say, it's the roof.
all right. I did my best, well over a week ago to, maybe 3 weeks ago, to summarize the discussions we had at the last meeting.
Yep.
And I asked people to review my summary, but nobody got back to me. So,
I haven't thought about it, so.
Well-
This is the one that you wrote up, the little.
yes, it is, yeah.
Very
Actually, I
good.
did read it.
I
It's
liked it.
okay.
So, I have two comments. We have,
I got that.
it's like a little note to Lucy, or a letter to Lucy that outlines what will be accomplished. And the figure, which now includes the clapboards and dealing with, restoring that, is 9950.
$9,950.
$50, right? But, and I asked Lucy about, removal of all the debris, and he did include that as an item this time.
Yeah, that's what he, because I asked him specifically, and he said, yeah, he would include all that, all the details, but that was his plan to begin with. I mean, most of them will
Right,
remove
but you
the-
gotta have it,
And is
you
this-
gotta
who's
say
this?
so.
Michael Gibbons.
Okay.
The other thing is that it doesn't, Lucy indicated that he would not be able to start until September. And I think we need something on his proposal. I guess it's a proposal.
What won't be till September?
Well,
The-
because he's already got some jobs he's
Yeah.
working on.
Can't schedule it till then.
Can't schedule it, yeah.
Yeah, but
Didn't you talk about better roofing?
They were over $10,000.
Okay.
And Silvio has moved out of town,
Yeah,
Silvio's
Oh.
gone, I know.
yeah.
yeah.
So,
Is Isaac running the thing?
I don't know.
Silvio said that Isaac was gonna stay here and run that company. In my hearing, sitting in the town clerk's office one day, and I thought, okay. Isaac is what, 22 or something?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel more comfortable with Silvio, frankly.
Oh, obviously.
Yeah.
Oh, Silvio was great.
Yeah.
if we can, I'd be satisfied, and again, we need to push this through.
Yeah.
This definitely goes through the select board, because I did get permission to
Good.
use the Highland Commons money.
Good.
And Paul was there and was helpful.
See, and the thing, and when you mentioned better roofing, the thing about them is that they didn't do the clapboards.
Yeah,
They worked with someone else, and believe it or not, it was Prestige.
Oh, yeah.
So that would,
add.
They
add
weren't
to
gonna
it.
do the woodwork or whatever.
No, they were just gonna do the roofing.
I mean, the place that we're re-roofing was a completely new constructed roof
Yeah,
at the time that we did it the last time. So there shouldn't be a lot to do there, except as it involves that
Yeah.
flashing in that corner and any bad spot that's found.
right.
But as far as I know,
That
it's
was
a new
new.
plywood roof, it shouldn't, even with a little leaking, it shouldn't be rotted out. But at the same time, until you've uncovered it, you don't know for sure.
Exactly.
I move that we proceed with that.
Okay, but I would like to have the September timeframe on the proposal.
Oh.
And I guess we could accomplish that by making a note, instead of having to give it back to him.
I'll
As
ask
long
him
as
about
he's
that.
in good faith told you that, we can make a note, and then it'll be signed off on that basis.
Okay. I'll check with them.
So we need a vote to accept.
Oh, you're going to, you made the motion? Okay, Barry.
You wanna
Yeah.
add
I make a motion to accept that, the estimate, and with the assumption that we could be talking a September timeframe.
All right, very moved that we accept.
I second the motion.
All those in favor?
Very,
Aye.
Right.
Aye. Unanimously, oh, Janet?
no, I'm sorry, I just need to get the motion
Yeah.
down so we know what we're voting on.
Yeah.
And I can't write that fast. I do have to keep begging with people to let me write it down and say it
Go
back to
ahead.
you.
To
Okay.
accept this estimate
Very moved that we accept this estimate
From Michael Gibbons.
and proceed to have the work done.
and proceed to get the work done. Thank you, Barry.
Huh.
Assuming a September scheduling.
All right. Am I
You
sent
could
to-
always send him a note saying that we accept your proposal with the understanding work will be completed by the end of September. You would give a specific date,
Yeah.
and then everybody's covered.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, are we rewording this, or does that come
Yeah.
out
No,
in
no.
a?
Yeah.
In a,
Yeah.
okay, so,
To be completed by September
to be
30th.
completed.
If it has to move a week, that's fine, but we need to get, I
By
agree, we need to put
September.
something
Just
that's
September, no-
definitive in there.
No date with the September, just September,
Mm.
right? Okay, thank you.
End of September.
Did we vote?
By
No.
end of September?
Well,
Are
we
you adding
did
that?
vote, but Janet didn't vote because she was trying to get it down, so I.
Well, yeah, and we
So
didn't
we
have it
just missed-
written, so I don't,
Yeah.
people didn't know what they were voting on, yeah.
we did.
I have a
You
question.
all knew the idea, but I
So-
like the exact words.
Do we want to say to be completed by end of September or to be started by September?
No, be completed by the end of
Okay.
September. You want an
Okay.
end date.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. Very moved.
He could come back and say, look, I want it till October 15th. I
Yep.
mean, we could work that out, but.
Done.
But
Very
if you put a stake in the ground, it gives him something to work with,
That's
puts
right.
him on the hook a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, to be completed, on or before September 30th, that's all.
Yeah.
We definitely want it before the weather turns bad.
Yes, again.
Very moved that we accept this estimate from the guy's name here, I just put MG, and proceed to get the work done, assuming a September scheduling to be completed by the end of September.
Well, take the September schedule out and
All
just
right.
have to be completed by.
Get the work done, to be completed by, good. Am I the only clerk who ever
No, you're
says
not.
the thing back to you?
Probably not.
I just feel like that, I was raised by 4-H, and you had to do that, you had to
It's a
always-
good practice, yeah.
Yeah.
So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay.
Aye.
Unanimously approved. All right, now my question is there anything we can do in the meantime to keep rain out?
Well, I was thinking that too. I think
That's
that
because it's a long time.
Pray for a drought this summer?
No, not for our
I
gardens.
had,
We can put.
I stuck that shingle up there.
Yeah, but that's,
And I think that actually did modify it a bit, but I also know we've had some more. I guess maybe we need to put some plastic or something up there that we
What
could-
about a tarp?
yeah, I
Mhm.
was thinking of tarp.
Tarps.
And,
That, just
Take
to,
it off the table, I'll take care of something there.
Thank you.
that area is a little worn and,
Yeah,
it's where that hole is that what we have to
yeah.
plug up
Well, what you
somehow.
need to do is have something that goes up the sidewall a little bit and then on the roof a little bit.
Yeah,
And
to overlap.
You still may get some seepage, but, you know, the amount of time, it's not gonna do any real damage.
Okay.
I'll put something up there.
and again, we'll catch it
Thank you.
inside so it's not getting on the structure so much.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Paul. All right. The next project is the walk-in bulkhead. The summary I made, just the first item is that is the cost that was given to us by Central Mass Concrete Foundations, and that a deposit was requested, which is a third, I think, and the fact that we cannot, the town won't pay deposits. And we need to figure out how to deal with that. If I can't remember what his name, what the gentleman's name was.
Steve Cormier? Steve Cormier.
Steve Cormier. Okay, so we have to figure that out.
Let's see if there's more there.
We also need to go through procurement. We need
That's other
three.
stuff.
3 bids.
But first, we needed to get a drawing, or, so that we were comparing apples to apples. I think,
Yeah,
Paul, you mentioned that the last time, that
You need,
without
you need to
something
have some
specific.
kind of rough spec, and I know Kristen would absolutely encourage that.
yeah.
Can the rough spec be wording, or does it have to be a drawing?
I would like to think it could be done with wording, and just really a hand sketch, you know, and some, critical points, you know, that it needs to start from here and
It needs to
be
be
so
so
far
wide.
wide, and,
Is that something you could help with?
Yeah, we need some specification of the width of the thing so that
Mhm.
we,
But until you get that, you really can't put it out for bids, because people
Not really,
aren't
you're
gonna
right.
know what
Yeah,
they're
you
looking
can't.
for.
Well, we can certainly use a lot of the information that he provided,
absolutely.
which is, because he did go and do a visual of it and did the measurements too, didn't he?
Well,
Some of them.
yeah. I mean, if you use his as a template, you know, now you're comparing apples to apples. We just need some clarity on some of those things, because a couple of his line items I thought were a little vague, could be expanded upon.
yeah,
Okay.
and there's no dimensions on it.
Right.
And we do need to do something with some dimensions so that people can see
And
it
I would
that.
certainly recommend that, the door that goes in there is a 3-foot door. If you're
3-foot
gonna-
door, yeah.
If you're gonna move things in and out.
That's right.
It's gotta be 3 feet.
3 feet wide.
That's one of the things that hit me was we wanna
Oh,
make
yeah.
sure we got the width there.
I see new homes getting built and people put in 30-inch doors, and it's like, how do you move furniture?
I'm so glad we're doing this. It just made
If you're going to the
so much
trouble of
sense.
doing it, you might as well do it right.
Yeah.
You're either gonna pay now, or you're gonna pay a lot more later.
That's right. Or
That's
you're
how it
gonna,
works.
you're gonna have the object you can't get
Yeah,
through
yeah,
there and
yeah.
wish that, whoa.
Mhm. Or somebody gets hurt.
If you have a 3-foot door, you know you're gonna be okay to move most anything.
Number 4 says open doorway and repairs.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
That means opening the foundation wall and repairing the now new exposed ends.
Yeah.
To secure it. And, I haven't looked at that in a while, but
Yeah.
You know
you'll
what,
probably
Ken?
end up
Can I make some
initially
copies
with a
of that?
temporary door,
I think it would be nice to,
you know, which is fine, all you need.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can't order a door until we really know what that, opening is, and it may be somewhat of a custom door.
I would say that's definitely likely because just looking at things, I mean, the height.
You're not gonna
is
get a 6'8"
It's gonna be
door, no.
non-standard height is the
Yep.
big problem.
Yep, so you're gonna be making, a carpenter's gonna be making the door for that.
Yeah. The bullet house, inside, we have that. Anytime you're doing anything, it's a non-standard height, so you have to make it work. I think we paid $900 for that entrance door that we put in, because it had to be
Yep.
custom made.
So we need to resolve the deposit issue.
Well, one way might be, if he agrees, is that, you know, he bill you for the first week's worth of work,
Yeah,
and you pay him that, and maybe that's an inflated amount, you know, as long as he's gonna stay within budget, that may be a way to skirt that, deposit issue.
I
And
think
that's
the
a
other
question of-
suggestion-
Because he's not gonna be carrying, costs for a long time, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, I think the other suggestion was for us to pay for the materials.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I just made copies for everyone.
I think that,
it'd be easier to see if accounting would accept that than for us to pay for materials, I would think.
again, this is a case where he and Kristen might need to talk to each other and come up with a solution to that. I mean, if the town doesn't pay deposits standardly, most companies ought to be able to figure out how they live with that. And certainly, we could do an early payment that was,
Yeah.
Well, actually, June helped us with our dilemma with Ever-Present.
Yeah.
I don't know if you recall, she said, once we delivered,
yeah, she could
she
make
would issue,
the first check.
yeah. So she found a way
She found a
for
way to
us.
make it work.
Yeah, yeah.
And she's the other person to ask that question about, of too.
Okay.
Who was that? Is the other person?
Hmm?
Who was the other?
The
person?
accountant.
June.
Oh,
the
June,
accountant.
I thought
June,
you
yeah,
said
the
June.
accountant,
Yeah,
yeah.
the other June.
The other
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Now, we anticipate, though we haven't yet verified, that this will be CPA fund.
I have verified with Tim.
Yeah, okay.
He said that he was comfortable.
I remember, I swore that I remembered that bulkhead was in that.
It's
All
not
right.
in the article. The way it's worded in the application, I didn't bring that with me, but the way it's worded, it says access.
Okay, okay.
But there's an adjective in there, but it doesn't say, it doesn't specify bulkhead, but he was okay with it.
I've also got to talk to Brenner about the bush.
Oh, yes, we'll
That's a bush
sacrifice
that
the,
she put in.
The quince.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's doing great there, but we need to, it's right exactly where this is gonna
Where
go.
it can't be.
So we've gotta get it moved, and I wanna talk to her about that, so we can hopefully save it and get it set up better.
They're pretty hardy, but they are tough to move because they have a tap root.
Yeah.
You gotta dig down deep on those
Right.
things.
Well,
And if you don't get all the root, it'll grow back up.
She moved it in there,
Did
so.
she? Okay.
Does anybody have any questions about each item and the cost?
Not really. The cost that's, there's concrete and there's foundation wall at a large amounts, but they should be.
I don't know enough to have any questions
You
about
might
it.
be able to get some help from Highway with crushed stone and things like, some small incidentals, but
Yeah.
I think everything else is, it's in the realm of reality.
My other question is, with this project, I know that we have to put it out there, and it has to go through the process, and it may be that nobody else will respond, and we will be happy with this, with Central Mass. And it may be that if someone else responds, it'll be way over, and we would take this anyway. But do we have any concerns, or do we have other things to do with the town to have this permitted?
The big thing is to create specs for it. The measurement, create measurements and any other specifics we can add to this that will, so we don't get apples and oranges from other estimates. This is the kind of thing where you get three people in and they got three different ideas of how to do it, and
Okay.
so we need
So
to.
you mean we would use a Central Mass visual as part of the scope that goes out? Is that what you're saying? So
Right.
that there aren't a lot of different,
You work with this document and, you know, you
Reduce
get rid of
this to
central mass, and some of this, you get a little more explanation to what's expected, dimensions, things like that.
Yeah.
But that way, any other bids that come in, it's gonna be a lot easier to compare.
okay,
Yeah.
so we need that
And,
from
you know,
him.
We need
anybody
to-
that's gonna bid is gonna come out and do a site visit. And, you know, if they have a brain fart with something that nobody else has thought about, you know, then you certainly take a look at it if it's able to
Yeah.
come in at less money, but I don't think that's gonna happen, not quickly.
We gotta develop specs from this plus some dimensions.
Well, that's Mr. Cormier's job, right?
Mm,
Or do we want to give him input?
oh, yeah, yeah.
Who?
The,
The principal of this company is
Cormier.
Steve Cormier,
Yeah.
so I was using his name. So how do we want to go about giving him input? Who feels
You know what?
adequate to that job?
I think Al is the one that got him involved, so would it be okay if if I checked with Al and see what he can do? I'm just gonna keep him busy.
Yeah,
You know?
I'll take a stab at some dimensions and
There you
things
go.
like that. I mean,
Do you wanna talk to Al?
no, I mean, of course I will.
yeah.
I need him to do some work for me, so I need to talk to him anyhow.
Okay, good. All right, so you're walking away with a lot of work here, Paul.
Yeah, I know.
So we're developing specifications,
So Paul and Al
so
will,
it can be put out
yeah,
to others,
will give input.
contractors.
Um, And the input would be dimensions,
And probably,
Just so you know, there's gonna be some site disruption, aside from this, because whoever does this is gonna have room to get a dumpster in, right along,
Oh.
Van Gelder's property line. Because everything that comes out of that basement has gotta go somewhere. So there might be a temporary parking space to allow for trucks, Bobcat, dumpster.
we have to apply for some, we have to get permission from highway or from,
Nah, I don't know, I'll check, I need to talk to Fred on something else, I'll ask on that. I've already broached it with, Eric Von Gerald, and there's a tentative
Oh, you did talk to
plan.
Eric about it?
I did, and he said, you know, well, he's pretty easy going, he said, work it out, but we need to be much more specific with him, you know, it's
Yeah.
maybe orange paint or some stakes or whatever. You know, when you're working in close proximity to neighbors or anybody,
Oh,
the
yeah.
more information you give them up front, the better off you're gonna be in the long run.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah,
that's
that's
the
a
only,
good idea.
that's the only way to approach it. You surprise people and that doesn't work.
that's not good.
And he's using that space for parking all the time.
Yeah,
It's a collaborative thing,
it
Yeah.
is
which
That's
is
a good-
nice,
that's
that's
a
how
good
you
one.
want it, yeah.
He's got his camper right there on the edge. We don't wanna damage it.
No, definitely not.
No.
And keep in mind, that's on top of our leach field.
maybe you could have them park it temporarily up by the,
Curatorial building or, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
if it's in the way, you know, and he wants to be safe. It doesn't have to be up there for a long period of time, but while work's going on.
I don't think the trailer itself is a problem, a lot of it is the truck he uses to pull it,
Yeah.
which would be easy to park up
But
on
a
our
conversation-
property.
And he has other friends in town, you know, if he feels it really needs to be out of the way, you know, I think he'll deal with it.
I don't want to backtrack, but does Michael Gibbons need, what do you call it? A roll-off, a dumpster.
No, I think he'll
A
either
dumpster
use his
and
truck
trailer?
or he has a trailer, I'm not sure.
Okay,
I
so,
know when, Better Roofing did my roof, they just brought in a trailer.
okay,
That they pulled behind the truck, yeah.
yeah, okay. all right, so,
And dumpster permits, I think, are from the fire department.
Yes, they are.
They are, yeah.
okay,
But if it's a
You might
dumpster
not need
for
a
metal
dumpster.
and stone and
Yeah.
things like that,
Yeah, I
I
know.
don't know.
I know.
I think
okay.
conversation with
Yeah.
the new chief would be
Yeah.
beneficial.
When,
Who wants to do that?
when this goes out
Cross that
to
bridge
bid,
later.
should we include plans that we have of the underground issues? The leach, the placement of the leach fields, and
Oh,
should
Well,
those
that means
accompany the
that-
bid
You stake that out.
Yeah.
And make it,
visible?
you
Yeah,
can't touch, this is a no-touch zone.
okay,
they've gotta be careful with how heavy their equipment is coming in on top of that. It is a tricky place.
okay.
Yeah, and that degree of difficulty obviously adds to cost on just about everything you do there.
Yeah.
So would, what's their time frame for this? Does this have to be sequenced after the septic?
This
Or
could
can it be done
happen anytime.
before?
Yeah, because it's
That's
in
what I
a
thought.
different
It can be done either way.
location. Yeah.
Good.
So what I have, let's see. So going forward, Paul and Al will put together input, so that a visual can be, we can have a rough sketch at least with some dimensions that can go along with the scope when it's put out,
Yeah.
Yep.
when it's put out to bid. So,
When we put this out to bid, I guess we have to give them at least a 2-week window, because I was reading all those documents that you
did
sent
you
out.
look at the chart? Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
And, 2-week window, but we don't actually have a time frame for that yet.
I think Kristen made
Well,
it
Kristen
about-
is.
Kristen will take care of that stuff.
She's our procurement person.
good.
And we just need to
Okay.
give her all that she needs.
We need to give her some form of specs.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the ball's in her court.
Yeah. So how long of a time do we give them? Oh, okay, we just give them a date that they have to respond by. Forget it, never mind, I got
I think so.
answered myself.
Yeah. So we need to,
It just has to be advertised for a certain period, and hopefully we'll get
And
some
if we-
other quotation on it.
And if we don't, we can still go with the one.
I believe so.
I
That's
think
what we
that-
did with the
I think that's
sills.
correct.
Okay.
But again,
Yeah.
Kristen will handle that part of it.
Yep.
I actually, she and I touched upon that, and if you go out to bid and you only end up with one bid.
That you can
go
take
with
it, yeah,
You can
Yeah.
take it.
yeah.
Good.
As long as you
Mhm.
think it's reasonable.
Right, as long as it's within your
Yeah,
parameters.
yeah.
Okay, so I'd like a vote to, once we have, I move that once we have the input needed to flesh out the scope for the walk-in bulkhead, that we ask Kristen to go forward with procurement.
Okay.
All right, let's hear that again. I move that, once we have input to flesh out, I'm putting it just as you said it, flesh out the scope, yes. I stopped there because that's as far as I could write, as fast as I could write.
We got another meeting in 2 weeks. I'm gonna suggest that we leave it, that the scope stuff will be developed, and maybe we can make our.
You wanna vote?
At that
At that
time.
time.
Okay.
It makes
Since
more
we've got a
sense.
meeting in
Yeah.
2 weeks,
That makes more sense.
rather than having to wait a month, I think it's
Okay.
fine.
All right.
Let's get the scope developed first,
We'll develop
Okay.
scope.
Okay, that's fine.
and then we can
To-
vote on it.
One thing relative to the scope, I don't know if a decision has been made, but that, we'll call it, that brick structure in the basement,
Oh, the cistern, or whatever it is,
The
yeah.
does
cistern
that
thing,
stay or does that go? That's a big piece.
I have two questions related to that. One, how hard is it to knock it out?
No, I don't think it's too hard.
Two, can we leave, we did talk about leaving the wall that's against the wall?
Oh,
just
yeah,
For
yeah.
reinforcement?
Oh, yeah,
Okay, but so anything that sticks out,
yeah.
It's just taking up space, it's not vintage by any means, you can tell that by the look of the brick.
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
hard is it to get out? I mean, are we creating a monster for ourselves, or is it easy?
Well, it'll
No
be in,
worse than removing
Yeah.
some of the loose rocks that's in there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Electric jackhammer, and that'll
Yeah.
get broken apart pretty easily.
All right, okay.
It's work. but-
Is,
It's messy work.
are we trying to attach that to this project?
Well,
It'll be a lot easier once the bulkhead is,
once, well, yeah,
Right.
yeah, you could separate it, and it probably makes sense to separate it. The bulkhead is one thing, and then the gutting of the
Yeah.
basement is a separate
Is another.
entity.
But once this is in place, that's a much more doable project. than-
Absolutely, yeah. You
and
can't do that
better
until this
estimates
is in
and-
place.
Yeah, better estimates and everything else,
So
take out
if,
the
um,
hot water heater and the rest of it.
all that stuff, yeah.
But if Steve Cormier has a dumpster and we break that up, could that go into
Well,
the dumpster?
see, that's rolling it into his,
Yeah.
and that's a question actually for Steve, because we did talk about some stuff inside, but he doesn't specifically address it here.
Right.
And it's just a clarification Al and I can get from him, this is just creating the bulkhead opening, period, and looking at the inside separately.
Yeah, I think so. And the other, of course, the other thing that we're gonna have to do, we're gonna have to have the oil tank moved in the cellar in order to put this thing in. And then it'll go out through it at some point, but we've got a variety of little things to do otherwise, in order to facilitate this project.
Well, there's room over by the hot water heater to put the oil tank, right?
What?
There's room over by the
Oh,
hot
yeah,
water
there's a
heater
couple
to
of
put
places
the
that you can
oil
move it
tank.
to. It doesn't have to move too far, it just has to be out of the way so they can open the hole.
I see. I was gonna question you on that.
Yeah.
Why do we have to have things out? But we have to have what's in the way
Yeah,
turned around, or,
yeah,
The oil tank is right where you wanna put the
yeah.
bulkhead.
It's
That's
the
the
only
problem.
place to put the bulkhead,
Yeah.
really.
okay.
Janet and I were down in the cellar yesterday with the home and the,
Yeah.
what's the home inspection, the energy.
Energy guy.
Yeah. and I was thinking,
Who was an inch from, half an inch from
He's
the.
6.5 feet tall.
Oh,
And his head was just brushing the
Yep.
ceiling of
Of the regular room that you enter into.
not to mention the basement, oh my
the
God.
basement, he was doubled over.
Yep. You
Poor
got
guy.
that right.
He's like, let's get out of here. I
That's the
can't
way-
take notes down here.
That's the way when Richard Wheeler was there was like that.
All right, so.
Richard
so,
brushed the
um,
ceiling in the entrance room.
So-
Whoever is gonna talk to Kristen, just a thought, inquire with her if a bid, and I'm just thinking down the road, maybe for the interior, if a bid can be put together or requested for just a time and material job.
Okay,
For this one?
I'm thinking for the interior of the basement.
Clean it out, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That would be, I think that really should be separate.
time and materials for.
Yeah, if you start combining these two, it's gonna get kind of messy and, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's
So
gonna be
keep
hard,
those
And
you
separate.
you'll get a better price on cleaning out the basement if you got access.
if this thing is done, yeah, much
So we-
better.
So we do the
I'm not
access. and-
hauling rocks up the stairs.
Oh, word. Don't want to do that.
Shoot me now.
Or even some of that ductwork.
Oh, yeah,
You'd have to cut the ductwork up in tiny pieces,
that's right.
and that takes time.
And we're gonna have to move a fair amount of ductwork.
Yeah, and at some point, not today for sure, but at some point, we need to talk about the energy audit
You can
and
do
the
it at
recommendations.
In the meeting in 2 weeks.
Right, right, but I just wanted to mention that because it ties in with what you were
It
Well, we'll
does.
have the report back in a
Yeah.
while,
Yeah,
so,
and that will help us with that
Yeah.
whole question.
Okay, I can certainly ask Kristen, inquire about a bid when it's time,
yep.
that would take care of,
Cleaning out the cellar.
yeah, for time and materials.
Excuse me, I just noticed, read notes.
Yep.
Because that tells you what he's excluding, it's basically the basement work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, we're probably gonna need to get Northborough Oil in to move that oil tank. I think it's empty, but they need to verify that
Make sure,
and
yeah.
move it.
Well,
Disconnect it and move it so that.
early on, Al did inquire about the cost of taking everything out that needs to go, and it was about $1,800.
Yeah.
At the oil tank and the
But that-
furnace.
Yes, and we weren't sure about ductwork, so that's sort of an unknown.
Yeah,
But that wouldn't include taking apart that cistern.
No, I don't think we were thinking
didn't even
about
think
that
about it,
then,
yeah.
yeah.
and we may wanna get Kevin Lipka to move, to do the ductwork so that
We can put
some of
back.
it is in shape to put back in if it wants to be.
I think you're gonna wanna look at a high-velocity heating and cooling system, which is 4-inch pipe that fits in standard walls. Get rid of the ductwork altogether.
Yeah,
Well, the energy audit guy yesterday actually said that we could use the existing ductwork with he said it's a better way, kind of visually.
With a heat pump approach
Yeah.
to the
Mhm.
thing, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
he said the standard heat pump doesn't really work well visually with a historic house.
Yeah,
But if you already have the
Ductwork.
forced hot air ductwork, he said that's an easy way to do
Yeah,
it.
he was very
But
practical.
he was going to
That's good.
send us information.
Yeah,
oh,
Today
good.
or
Can you
tomorrow.
talk about
Yeah,
the
we'll make
need
sure
to
everybody gets-
insulate all that ductwork?
Well, the insulation was 99% of our discussion.
Okay.
mhm,
Yeah,
yeah. And that's what we get the money for, 75%.
Yeah, that they will cover 75% of the cost.
Of the cost of installing that, yeah.
okay, so,
But we have a lot of work to do
Let's
before
see.
we can
Right.
have them come in and do that.
And we have to decide what kind of heat we want,
Yeah.
which I think we're leaning toward already from what I've heard just now.
yeah. So I can, so there's two things that I'm taking away. The input that Al and Paul will create for the scope. And inquiring of Kristen and the accounting, June in accounting, the best way to handle a 1/3 cost.
a deposit.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, and Paul's made a suggestion that I can forward to as one of our thoughts.
And I think
Was
the
it-
other one that was discussed in the last meeting was for us to pay for the materials separately.
Yeah, if the other won't work, yeah, okay. Was there anything else for the walk-in bulkhead? Okay, so the next thing is the Hancock proposal, and Paul made a very good suggestion that we have enlarged plans to help us visualize what needs to happen on the ground.
Now, because the total exceeds 10,000, it has to go out to bid as well? Or do you take these into pieces?
No, we can't split it. It would have to go out, well, that's a good.
I thought the work would have to go out, but not the actual plans. I thought, did I read that incorrectly?
No, I think you're right.
That, if someone drawing up plans, you don't have to do a bid on it, you can just accept it?
This is like the TF Moran,
Yeah.
yeah. This isn't well, I don't know if Paul has that.
Do you have that, Paul?
Did you see this there as well? I printed it off because I couldn't follow
I
it
think I showed that to you the other day,
on the
Paul.
computer screen, because I was
Yeah, I've
going
seen
back
it. I
and
don't
forth,
have
and
a
there was a lot
copy.
of detail.
Well, you can have that one.
I can?
Yep,
Thank you.
yep. The scope is, is broken down.
Yeah, it's broken into three pieces.
The first is all the backup work, really.
Has any of that been done
I
before?
want to see if I got the right one.
Soil testing
Or
is the second phase, and a site plan is the third phase. The approval
Hang on.
process is the fourth, and that's,
Oh, they didn't have any cost.
no,
They
that's,
didn't have any
yeah, that's
estimate of-
per fee, per the fee schedule. I was, because we had a quick conversation when I was in the grocery store. This is pretty, I mean, I view this as pretty standard stuff. I mean, the Registry of Deeds, what people are looking for are easements, are utility easements, so that so you're aware of anything that could be underground. And land court, I mean,
Of course, whether it's registered.
yeah, and this is not registered land, so there won't need to be anything there as far as I know.
Was this ever done before? Because I know we had something from Ross Associates on this type of work, you know, the site plan. So has any of this already been completed? No?
I mean, I don't know of anything
Okay.
on this list. I mean,
Well, you're
the
gonna wanna-
assessors,
You're gonna
for
wanna
sure.
see what's on Austin's plan, you know, like the reference for finding boundary markers and all that. They may have already done that sort of thing.
I think that stuff has been done.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we need to
Okay.
do a comparative.
Well, that would cut quite a bit off, because that's $8,100.
well, as I say, I've told Kristen about this a couple of times, that they are not acknowledging those plans. Hancock is not,
Acknowledging the things that we've sent them.
yeah, and, you know, I mean, I've sent them 3 times now, so,
I find that interesting.
yeah, I don't like, you know, I mean, it doesn't make me feel very confident.
I do understand that if they're gonna do something, they wanna make sure that there's not something that's been missed that's gonna come up and bite them in the butt.
Right, if their backside's in the sling, they're gonna wanna
Yeah,
be responsible for it themselves.
yeah, but at the same time, the amount of plans of the property that already exist, including the septic easement plan and other stuff that, you know, that involved surveying years ago, that stuff should be okay as it is to work from.
I mean, you can go through this and, I mean, I'm just Phase B03, review municipal zoning ordinances and site plans, you know. There's fluff in here. The test holes, we get to pay for the excavator, but they charging $1,200 to look at the hole.
Yeah.
You know,
You know, it's interesting, because Dan Barton recommended Hancock, as I recall.
Yes, he
yeah,
I
did.
thought
but
that we-
this is how
This is
that
typical.
world works.
Okay, this is
Yes.
typical
That-
then,
that-
okay.
It's typical,
Yeah.
it's not they're trying to, it could be some other company and they'd be doing the same
Same
thing.
thing.
Because they give you all these line items because there's gonna be a big number at the bottom, but some of these line items are really, you know,
Kind of garbage,
yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
mhm.
And that's where, you know, comparatives start to play an important role.
And then you go back to Ross, who already did a lot of this
Yeah.
work on that site, and yet they say they don't have time to do this. Well, that's because it's doing all this stuff, and they
They don't have the staff.
don't have the
Yeah,
staff.
they're understaffed.
I'm not convinced that we need it at the level that is all it's at, but
How do you want to respond to Kristen about this proposal? We,
It's under advisement.
You know, good point, because now, once we print off Austin's plans, then we can respond to her, because right
Okay.
now we can't.
we still might not be able to. That's what
We'll
I'm
know more,
thinking.
though.
Yeah, we'll know a little more. We are not paying for this out of our own allocations.
This is
This
CPAC
is,
money?
no, CPAC is
Oh.
allocated to us.
this is
Okay.
what?
This is ARPA money.
ARPA money.
ARPA money.
Hmm.
This
But
is,
I still, even if it's opera money.
doesn't
I wouldn't-
matter,
I wouldn't
yeah.
want to waste,
Yes,
you
there,
know.
yeah. Because we need that, we need whatever the remainder is to keep going.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
this is to set the stage for our drainage and the,
The
parking lot
What
job.
she considers the comprehensive drainage
Yeah,
remediation.
Yeah, so it's just the parking lot, the driveway, the drainage.
Yeah.
from a practical standpoint, I think I know what I need to know, but the problem is you've gotta deal with getting the drainage added to the plan. We don't have a plan that I know of that actually has the drainage planned.
Yeah,
Yes,
he
it's in
talked about it, but
Austin.
it doesn't actually
It's
do
in
it.
the
And
Austin
there's-
design.
There's a place for a couple of dry wells, but they don't have, you know, an actual plan for running the pipe down and getting it into the town's stormwater system is not,
It's not part of Austin.
well, it hasn't been done. It just hasn't been done. That was something that Keith wanted to do, rather than have dry wells.
Yeah, it's this number.
And he's right,
This
you know,
number
part
4
of it.
here,
But,
stormwater management report.
yeah. Yeah. That's the kind of stuff that we need.
That we don't have. We
Yeah.
don't have it.
I have to leave, but
Yep.
if any other questions,
That's
give me a
great.
call or something.
Yeah.
And,
Thank you,
I'll
Paul.
talk
Oh, it's-
with
it's up
Al
here,
and
too.
we'll do something on this
That would be wonderful.
bulkhead
Yep.
spec.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks
Oh,
very
thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do we have more than one abutter, or is it just Van Gelder? I'm just curious.
Uh,
A butters list?
I don't know how many feet is required.
Think we'd have to notify Doug Warben and
Is there something
across the
about a
street.
butters list in here?
Number
somewhere?
5.
Yeah, it's talks about
Oh.
obtain a butters list and prepare all required applications.
All right, all of that is done through the assessor's office.
Right, but how many butters do you think we have?
Well, it depends. Some things are abutters and some things are abutters to abutters.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you have to go to the second
Yeah.
circle. So you certainly have got Faith
And Doug
on that
Warben.
side. You've got Von Geldern. I think they're the only abutters other than Townland. And, but then if you need to go one more, you gotta go another house in each direction.
Do you have to go across the street by any chance?
The
or-
church.
Yeah. Yeah, you might have to do that. You have to go over to Jane,
Mhm. Okay.
and again, the town and the church.
Yep.
But that's
The assessor.
a standard thing that they do through the assessor's office. It's a regular thing. I mean, that's just something they,
Mhm. Excuse me.
Okay. I hope, even though we're we don't have, you know, a great background for analyzing this. I want everyone to really have a good look at it. And if you come up with any questions at all, then we should address those next time.
Yeah, at our next meeting.
Yeah.
I think we may not have the engineering background, but I think by this time, we have a pretty good understanding of what needs to be addressed.
Yeah,
What the problem is,
Yeah.
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 And is it in here, is it covered, or is it something that's
Yeah.
still missing?
there's a
Yeah.
constant assumption that there's underground water coming off the hill into the cellar. I just don't buy it.
Not as much
Just,
as-
my experience does not agree with that at all. It's that surface water that comes in at the end that we know about.
Yeah.
That's where most of our water comes from. And until that one's solved, you can't even evaluate the other thing. But I don't think there's any
Well, I say-
significant water coming in
I
underground
think one may be
from the
masking
hill.
the other, but
Yeah,
the huge problem is what's running down the hill.
is what's running in, onto the lawn and down into
And
the
you
cellar.
can't figure out what's going on with the rest of it until you get that.
Yeah.
I just wanna
I mean,
go
it's
get a load
obvious.
of dirt and put it on the lawn and make it higher, so make it go the other way, and then we can, but it's like, no, it'll get fixed next year, it'll get fixed the year after, and then we don't solve it.
Well, the
Well, you know-
driveway is the driveway is an obvious clue.
It's an
Yes.
obvious problem.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, there's a big channel down the middle. And
And it runs
putting
right
asphalt
through the
over
driveway.
is only gonna make the problem worse.
Yeah, because it'll splay out, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think it's a good reminder to us that this is going to be a slow process because we are doing
And it's
a
only the
huge
deluges
amount
that
of-
do it, light
it's a
rain
huge amount of
doesn't
stuff
mention
that
any
we're
of this.
trying to
This
get
is not
done.
an issue at
Well,
all with
we're
light
kinda-
rain,
we're
it's
getting
when
there.
there's a deluge.
But
Yeah.
lately, we've been
We
just
just have to
having
keep
them.
those
Yeah.
Yeah.
things
One
up
after
because
We
the
have
other
to-
after the other.
We have to
Yeah.
be prepared for
Well,
that.
Yeah.
We
Because we're
can't be
remaking this
conservative in
whole
this
part of the
respect,
town,
I
that's
don't
why.
think.
Yeah.
Or liberal, I guess is what is the
I think
problem.
Yeah.
I've just put a couple
All
of
right, so
pills
we've
on
made a
over there.
decision to I'll convey to Kristen that we are doing our best to review this, that we want to compare our Austin design plans with some of
the
the
pieces in
items
there.
here.
Yeah. And maybe there's stuff that we can say, go back to them and say, that's already been covered, can we take this out?
Yeah, and we did that last time.
We did.
Because last time,
They included the
They-
sidewalks, it's like, no, that's gonna be complete
Yeah.
That's
streets.
the different thing.
Don't-
and
don't
also, he
charge
didn't
us for
even acknowledge that Ross was not gonna do the surveying. I
Yeah.
mean, I
Yeah,
just,
that
Well, and I
a
think
surprise.
that they had said something about, oh, well, you're responsible for the soil testing. It's like, wait a minute.
In 2016 or whatever, we went out to bid for the town hall job, including the parking lot or not including the parking lot. All of that stuff had all been done based on the Austin plans. The only piece of the Austin plan that I think still needs examination is drainage that actually connects to get the water out of the area as opposed to putting it in a dry well.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think they may say, well, that was done 8 years ago,
Yeah,
which is too long a period for us to trust it anymore.
yeah,
I don't know, but it might be a time
It would have
thing.
made me feel better if they had said, if
We've
Jacob
looked
had
at
said,
it
I've
and,
looked at it
yeah.
and we need an update.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't get anything, which,
Did
I
you
mean,
even look at it?
yeah.
they aren't gonna look at it until they get a thing
Get some
from us on
money,
this.
right?
Yeah, that's when
Yeah.
they're gonna look at it.
And then say, oh,
And here I've got the price for you. This is what we're gonna charge you to look at it. Okay, so we're moving. This is
We're
really
learning,
good.
we're getting into the world of the big people
I
now.
know.
We're gonna do field measurements of all of this stuff.
Okay.
And you do understand that this is part of the ARPA
Yeah.
allocation.
Yeah.
ARPA.
All right, but as Paul said, we need a lot of money.
They're gonna use up the ARPA money on this before they get to doing the work.
But we have to be mindful that she needs contracts by the end of this year, and it's already the end of May.
So she's got another month.
So,
By the end of
no,
the fiscal year or the?
no,
Year?
The end of the calendar
the
year.
calendar year.
Okay, so
Yeah.
she
But-
has 7 months.
To
But,
use up the ARPA money.
you know, looking at how we proceed in our turtle, you know, as turtles, we do need to move along on this. If we
Yeah.
don't like it, we don't like it, but we have to
Okay.
be more specific. And,
But I think, as Paul had said, we really need to know where the septic system is gonna go, so
Yeah.
that they can make sure that the plans for the,
that they draw, yeah.
that they draw up for the retaining wall and the parking lot are going to fit in with
Yeah.
where the septic system is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I
So-
guess that's to get
Yeah.
Paul Wheeler moving.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I wanna go up now and look at the bricks and compare it to what I know about the parking lot
Yeah.
job. So,
You know, well.
Yeah,
no,
that would
I
be
don't
good, and
think
that's
I
why
would.
I asked
Want
him,
to.
you know, because he said, oh, we'll put it on here. I said, so mark it,
Mark it, so we've got a handle.
yeah, so that we know approximately where it
You
can
know, I'm a very visual person. It's all well
Me
when you tell me,
too.
but I wanna see it.
be. Me too, and that's why I'm saying, you know, he said,
And
do it
that-
here, here, no,
It's so confined a space that we really do wanna see as much as we can.
Yeah, and we don't have a lot of wiggle room there.
no, we
Yeah.
don't. It's within it's within where the, well is, though. It's over to the side.
I
So-
think, well, this is.
So June.
Yeah,
um,
that's something we talked about, but we didn't have a plan to address the well. My understanding is it needs to be filled in properly.
Yeah.
But who would we?
Yes.
Who would we get to do that?
Bill Brookins.
Is gonna tell us how to do it.
All right,
And
so.
then we'd have to get someone to do it.
We couldn't
Well,
take the.
we may get Paul to do it when we say to do
I
it.
was just wondering, you know, like if we have Paul there digging the dirt already, could he fill that in?
Yes.
Yeah, I think,
I think all they have to do is, you know, pull whatever's off the top and fill the well with sand. I think that's
I
what they have
think
to do,
it's-
but that's gotta,
I think it's bank run gravel that you want.
Okay.
it's what?
It's called bank run
All right,
gravel,
to fill the well.
yeah,
But
Okay.
that's, again, that's,
someone else's determination.
Paul must have done this for other places.
Oh, sure.
But
You could ask him.
secondly,
yeah.
it's Bill Brookins to tell us exactly what we need to do with that.
Okay.
All right, so we offload that onto your,
Yep,
Yeah.
I'll do it.
okay,
I
that's
will
good.
talk with Paul and, get that.
And
I don't
then-
mind doing that at all.
And, yeah, what's his experience, and then we can have it verified by Bill.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's one last thing here. And that is the TF Moran, my inquiry to them. Does everybody have a copy of that? I know you have it on your email.
Of
I copied it. I brought this. This is the one you're talking about, right?
Well, I'm talking about my inquiry and Tom Lamb's reply.
The May 10th.
Oh, shoot, I got the wrong one.
I know it's easy to do.
Shoot, I have the
Let
wrong
me see
one.
if I have another copy. Yes.
Don't
here.
talk till I run
Yeah.
and make copies.
You don't need to, because I made,
Oh, you're good, thank you.
Janet, do you have one?
I do think I have it, but let me just affirm that. It's locked in.
It's
It's
two-
on the back side of this one.
That's it.
That's it,
You're
right
looking
there.
at it, you're
Yeah,
looking at
and
it.
then we've got this one here, so that's what.
That's what
Yeah,
we're looking
yeah.
at, yeah. So it's the second page
Mhm.
of my summary. And I'm asking you to look at his reply to me.
Mhm.
And if you take away my understanding, or do you understand it in a different way?
I'm looking at this, last sentence that he has here from the, under June, the second here, it says, ideally you would hire one contractor to do both portions of the work, so the coordination between phases is done by them internally.
Right.
So we have,
We don't have a contractor
We
yet
don't.
for anything,
No.
but,
we have a contract, well, a possible contractor for the, bulkhead, but
So
That-
much money,
I know.
it's so foolish.
well, don't go there, because it's a dead end.
What
I agree.
did Barry say is foolish, Phil? I'd like-
I don't know, I think your assessment is fine, and I don't see anything, I don't think we've gotta do anything with this now.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it sounds like they agree that
Yeah.
we'll get the surface drainage and the parking lot issue resolved, and then we'll deal with the
Right.
foundation, because working on a drier basement
Yeah.
is preferable for everybody.
Now, we have once we get our bulkhead figured out, we have a responsibility, and whatever we decide to do with the cistern, we have a responsibility to TF Moran to tell them what we're up to,
Mm-hmm.
because they're,
Expectations?
well, yeah, and also they'll have to redraw.
Mhm.
Yeah, their plan has got to be anyway, because we've already decided
Yeah.
we don't really wanna do their
Well-
full-blown plan.
Well, but
Well, I don't
adding the
know about-
bulkhead and taking out the cistern are going to affect all
Yeah.
of their plans.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but we need to get further along with those before we worry them about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, we
so.
haven't got dimensions to even put the bulkhead
That's
issue
right.
out to bid, so
Yeah, yeah.
don't borrow trouble yet.
I think the bulkhead we get the bulkhead done, that changes a lot of things, including what they're gonna plan. So, I wouldn't pursue stuff with that until after we get the bulkhead job done.
And we could start on the bulkhead anytime.
Anytime we
One-
have, yes,
Okay, good.
Once we get dimensions and
yeah,
talk to
once we
Kristen
have the
about.
specs, and hopefully we can get those specs, pretty well taken care of by our meeting in 2 weeks.
Oh, that would be good. I do, I call Ally, he goes, what now?
Yeah. Yeah,
A needy
But it's
sister.
okay.
You just got a needy sister.
yeah.
All right, so,
Somewhere in here I have that little
You
thing.
just cracked
so
me
the
up.
takeaway is, you guys are okay with my takeaway here?
Yeah, I
okay,
agree, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we don't have to do anything until we have more, we are launched on our other,
Yeah,
I think that's yours,
so
or can be yours.
can I bring up another topic? Are we done with this yet?
yep, yep.
Okay, so, remember I talked to you about, what we're trying to do is we're trying to let people know, and I mentioned it to you, Wednesday too. We're trying to let people know what we're doing. So you gave me the list for the, addresses for the Historical Society, which, what I would like to do is to say, we're working on it, this is what we've got, we've started, this is the progress that we've made, and we hope to, we anticipate getting this work done sometime in 2024, just so people know we are working on this. And Barry, when I talked to Barry, you said that you were in agreement with that we could do that.
Yep.
So I will put something together and I'll send it out to everybody. Just look at it and we can talk about it at the next meeting?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if there are some visuals we could put with your email when you get to it.
Yep,
Well, we can think about that.
okay.
Because people really, our awareness, our society deals with pictures.
Yep, yep.
And hopefully,
that.
people will still read. But you never can be quite sure about that.
So, yes.
Ellie and Janet, we have a couple of minutes. Did you want to say anything about the energy audit?
Sure.
Anything in
Yeah,
particular that,
He's gonna send us a summary and some other stuff, but he mainly said, that the biggest bang for the buck is going to be insulating the outside walls. He would recommend, blown-in cellulose insulation.
yeah, did he talk about mineral wool?
No.
Which is-
I asked him what he'd recommend, and he said, we recommend the cellulose. He did say that in order to do that, they do it from the outside. We have to finish patching all of the holes on the exterior walls. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
The
Okay.
inside of the exterior
Yeah.
walls.
yeah.
He's not- we're
So
not
that
worried
things
about-
don't blow through the.
Yes, he
yeah,
can't,
yeah.
he can't, and
Okay.
before we do that, he would like us to, they would require us to get an electrician to verify that there is no active knob and tube wiring
In the walls.
in the walls. He said, you can leave it as long as it's disconnected.
It's disconnected.
But if there's any active, that has to be replaced before they would do the
There's nothing.
installation. And he said, you just need to get an electrician in to sign off, and we'd have to send it to them. They would cover 75% of the cost.
Of insulation.
Of the insulation.
Insulation.
Wow, that'd be great.
We asked
Well-
about the windows, and he said, listen, 85% is your exterior wall insulation, 15% is the windows. The big bang for the buck is
the walls.
The walls. He
Yeah.
said, I wouldn't worry about the
Repairing and
windows."
tightening the windows is enough.
Now, 'cause I said, would you recommend going to double pane? He said, the cost of historically accurate double pane, he says you're never going to make that work.
Yeah.
He said,
It's a historic site. He's
stick
not-
with
yeah.
the external wall insulation. He said, don't worry about internal walls. The only reason you insulate internal walls is for soundproofing.
Mhm.
That's not gonna be an issue.
In fact, the way he worded it was that windows should be the bottom of our lists for energy, from an energy perspective.
Good.
Yeah.
So, and then the other thing is we have to deal with the fact that there is asbestos in the attic.
Yeah.
And, you know, he reached up and
Just
pulled
pull
a
some
piece
down,
down. and-
yeah. He took a
So-
picture. and-
This is the stuff
Yeah.
in the back bedroom.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
back bedroom.
and he said, they
Just
can't, you
a
can't have,
small area of it.
but he said, you can't have any workmen going up there. He
Right.
said, my recommendation would be just to seal it off
Yeah,
and
that's
forget
what-
about it. He said, the only time asbestos is a problem is when it gets into the air.
Yeah.
And if you're not working in that area, you don't have to remove it, but you have to seal it off.
So how do you seal it off? Just close the door and,
There's
you know?
no, there's open.
You put in a new ceiling that's
Yeah.
solid.
There's a
just-
solid ceiling.
So,
Okay,
yeah.
got it,
Mhm.
got it.
Um,
Okay, that's not too
and-
The
bad.
area that it is smaller than this table.
Yeah, and he
The other
said,
interesting
Wow.
thing that he said was that,
It's one of
every-
those things that we don't want to tell Kristen, we don't want to tell anybody else. We go in, we put it all in bags and we get rid of it. There isn't that much of it.
So,
I don't know. We don't want to be dealing with that.
no.
no, and that's what he said, his recommendation would be just to seal the attic off, so that you're not, having people go up there. He
Well,
said
we have to put insulation under the attic floor, don't we?
You can't put, they don't want you to put the insulation with, the new insulation with the asbestos. They don't want it all mixed, you know, they just
Yeah.
want it out of there. I mean, sealed off so that nobody can get to it.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's not very much of it.
It doesn't matter.
That's-
Huh?
It doesn't
Well,
matter.
they're gonna go up and look at it again, I'm sure, but.
Aren't they
um,
gonna insulate the
two-
rest of under that attic floor?
He didn't talk about insulating the attic. He talked about
Right.
putting
The wall.
In
insulation
fact,
into
he
the walls.
specifically said, don't put the insulation in with the asbestos.
Don't put the what?
Insulation in with the asbestos.
This, that is how
Yeah.
I wrote it down here, and I'm pretty sure that's what he said. And, the other thing, I was
He
starting to
did
say
say,
before, and I got
he did
cut off.
notice mold
Oh, I know what I
on
was
the
gonna say.
ceiling. The roof, I wouldn't say the ceiling, the roof kind of in that crawl space behind the,
The back attic?
yeah. And he said, that's possibly,
From our other
from our
problem.
leak, but it's also possibly coming up from the basement. So he said, we would require you to put in a vapor barrier
barrier, mhm.
in
Yeah.
the cellar.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
In the crawl space.
Well, the crawl spaces, he saw them in the bathroom, he said, that's fine. But they would require the same thing, same treatment for, you know, the dirt floor
Yeah.
in the cellar.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, a vapor barrier.
And he also, when we were talking about heating, he would recommend going with a heat pump with the ductwork for the forced hot air. He said, if you're dealing with an old structure, heat pumps are not great because of the gluck. But he said, if you've already got the ductwork,
Mhm.
that works. And he said,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not associated with any
Yeah.
thing. So he said, I will tell you that I think that the heat pump is the way for you to go.
Yeah, he said a forced hot water system
Hot-
is more
hot
aesthetic
air.
from the outside. If we have the ductwork to go with forced hot air, go with the forced hot air.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But he's gonna send us all that information. He said that there's still a $10,000 rebate for
The heat pump.
the heat pump. And we asked him, we get this stuff, this estimate now, and if it takes us more than 2 years, I guess it's a 2-year window to get it done. He said, don't worry about it, because you can have the energy assessment done every 2 years. He said, this program isn't going anywhere, so if your project runs over 2 years, just have us come back out,
Mhm.
we'll redo everything and.
Just
and
do
you'll-
it, do it again.
Yeah.
And I got the impression you could do it more than once, too. I
Oh,
mean, more
yeah.
than one repeat.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure you could.
But
yeah.
those rebates are significant in terms of the cost of all of that.
Absolutely. I mean, the 75%,
There's no
For-
question that a municipality is,
he said no, because that house is still under a residential rate.
Yeah.
He said, and don't ever change that.
Mhm.
Oh,
Okay.
So as long as it's under the residential rate plan, it qualifies for this program.
that's
The-
interesting.
The electric bill.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's what, it's all about the electric
It's
bill.
all based on the
Mhm.
residential rate of the,
Okay.
Mhm.
he said, if it gets absorbed into the, then all bets are off. But as long as it's still under
Mhm.
the residential plan, you're fine.
So where do the rebates go? Do they go back into the,
They would come back to
To
the
the town.
the town
To
that
the
paid
town.
for doing the work.
okay. that's-
Now, I suppose when it comes back, then we have to see if it'll come back to our
us,
use.
or whether
but
it goes to the general
but
conference,
that's-
but.
Yeah, that's.
The
well,
point is that the
Down the
town,
road.
in terms of the cost of doing the work, the town is the bottom line cost for the town is reduced.
Great. So with the heat pump, we still need, what is it, those things outside?
The compressor.
The compressor?
Yeah.
Outside?
He's gonna send all that, he's
Yeah.
gonna email, he had another project that was down in Brockton or someplace like that, he said, I'm all over the road today. He
Okay.
said, but I promise you that I'll get you something in the next couple of
Mhm.
days.
That's great.
Oh,
And he's
that's
got
good.
both of our email addresses, so
Nice
Super.
job.
he'll make one or
Good
the
work.
other.
Mm,
Good work.
He
Well,
was super,
thank you
he
for
was
setting
actually
that up.
very, very helpful.
Good work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The biggest thing that I'm concerned about is the nature of the insulation and the cellulose as opposed to the rock
Mineral,
wool, whatever.
yeah.
Mineral wool.
Mineral wool, because we really did want to go with the mineral wool if we could, because it doesn't
Absorb.
it doesn't build up moisture and hold moisture. And that's the big reason why Tim Walheda pushed that. And that's what they put, and they put that in 19 Carter. There's a question we could ask Paul, is when they did 19 Carter, did they do
Yeah.
anything with these folks in terms of getting rebates and
Yeah.
stuff? Because that would be an interesting thing.
Yeah, well, and I think that that's why he's saying we would require you to put in vapor barriers.
Yeah, well, all the understructure, I mean, if you look at the TF Moran plans.
Yeah.
Every part of that is, well,
Yeah.
because the deep cellar is, they want to put a concrete slab.
Yeah, some spots he said that you might want to do, but the vapor barrier is
All the,
universal over everything.
yeah,
Yeah. With the vapor barrier, can you put the vapor barrier under, you could put it under the concrete, couldn't you?
Under the
Well,
what?
one
Under the
place that I don't
concrete.
really want to put a vapor barrier is under the kitchen, because the darn
I don't know if it goes.
timbers
under
are sitting on the
concrete.
ground,
Yeah,
and it's dry as a
The
bone.
things like
but-
the stone
and
and stuff.
getting the
like
vapor
that.
barrier in
would go
there,
over it, I think.
you're gonna have to dig to get, and it,
yeah.
but other than that one spot, we've already put it in the places we've worked, and we can continue to anything that gets opened up.
Yeah, and
We'll
that's,
put 'em
he
in.
saw what was in the
Yeah.
bathroom, and he said,
Yeah.
that's fine, that's
Yeah.
great.
Okay,
He said, but he was looking down in the cellar, and he said, we
and
need
that's
a
the
vapor
kind of,
barrier.
that's the kind of thing that we have under the entrance room, is
Yeah.
what's in the back.
And I
And my
said, I think
understanding is
that
that- oh.
under those areas, we've already done the work, but he's talking about the deep cellar.
Yeah,
No, I was just gonna say that, my understanding is that the vapor barrier goes over everything. It doesn't matter if it's ledge or what it is. Is that what
Yeah.
your understanding of it too?
We didn't talk with him about the cement slab proposal,
Yeah.
so I don't know whether.
he
it would
isn't
go
aware
under or
of
over. No.
what we've,
I said that there's a lot of work that had to be done,
yeah,
but he said that doesn't really matter with what I'm gonna do. And we talked about the fact that, while it was a residential, people weren't gonna be living there. Oh, and he was very supportive of
Yeah, we
putting
got
the
that in there.
on-demand hot water tank upstairs in the closet and
Oh,
getting
yeah.
rid of the one down. He said, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
in the bathroom.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I love mine. I think it's great. I have an on-demand.
Mhm.
Saves me a lot of money.
It's good. Okay, I didn't have anything else, but I do want to remind everyone that pretty soon we have to reorganize.
when
And-
we get the
Yes.
appointments, when they do the new appointments,
Yeah,
which they should do anytime now.
that's right, because it's the end of the month,
Mhm.
yeah.
They do, usually, I don't know if they did it at their last meeting, but after the election, they usually work on getting the appointments out.
Mhm.
And I don't know who's up this year, but one or two of us are.
We are,
You and I are?
yeah, we are.
Okay, so,
We just have to be mindful that we need to have, in particular, we need to have a new clerk, because Janet would like to do other things besides be the clerk. And
I like to be able to actually
yeah, okay.
think about what people are saying instead of, you know,
Yeah.
and just
So,
thinking about what you're saying, and you're saying,
I don't know if anyone wants to to think about volunteering for that. Janet and I have wondered if it could be a rotated responsibility. But I think we have to have someone in the position.
You do need to have somebody in the position to report to the town.
Yeah.
Because that person is the keeper of the records, if there's a records request and things like
Yeah.
that. So we do have to have it on record that somebody is the
Yeah.
clerk from the town. As far as the actual doing of minutes, that could be, something else
Rotated.
could be done,
That could be
yeah.
rotated, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody want to volunteer?
I need to deal with Annie Meldon, and it's driving me out of a tree, because my mind has been about school committees and town meeting and other things the last few weeks. I need to get over there and get the stuff out of there so she can tear the house.
Have you talked to her?
I have not, because
Have they started demolition?
They've got a machine standing there, and the last time I walked by, Monday,
yeah.
they had a pile of.
We should make
kind of
copies.
looked like board.
Can I get you to?
boards
Yeah.
How
in the
many do you want?
driveway, but I don't
Well,
know how
one
much
for
they've actually
each.
really taken.
Well, I don't
out.
know, 2 or
Oh.
3.
Okay.
I haven't seen a
Lost
dumpster
Keep one for
there.
yourself.
There was a dumpster there earlier, but that's gone.
The other thing is, anything I take out of there, you're gonna love this.
I'm gonna put this
I
on
gotta
the
put it in the
side.
bullet house, at least temporarily, because I can't put it anywhere else.
What is it?
Anything we take out of that house. Because the selectmen have told us we can't put anything anywhere otherwise.
Someplace on the first floor?
Yeah, I just put them in a room on the first floor, with the idea that we'll move them to the fire station or something as soon as we can get a permission to.
Did anything happen with plans to get rid of those 2 buildings?
We need to act.
Did they discuss it at all?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
All I know is that I've been told that Peggy wants to tear them down.
I see.
And I think it's stupid to tear down the Red Fire Station. The town voted the money to put a new roof on it, and they have refused to actually do it up to this point. And it ought to be put on there. If the roof is fixed, I don't see why that building needs a lot more money anytime soon. It's not, I don't mean to say it's in perfect shape, but it should last for a very long time
It's functional.
without a lot done to it, especially if it's just being used for storage and stuff.
Yeah, it's functional. It doesn't
And
need
it's
to-
got, it's got new garage doors they put in a few years ago. It's got new windows upstairs they put in, within, like 10 or 15 years ago. It's like, why do you want to tear this thing down except that you want to tear it down?
Well, there
And-
should be a facilities review of those 2 buildings, just like we had to do.
I know, and I can't get into it. I need to go after that. I've been worrying about this damn school nonsense instead
Yeah,
of.
that's something
Oh,
else.
June
Doing things I
17th,
need
you're
to
on
do.
you're on the docket again, that's right.
What?
June 17th, there's a special meeting, special town meeting for the school.
For the schools?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
We have another meeting, and then the schools have scheduled a district-wide meeting for the very next night.
Oh,
So if Berlin doesn't do what they want us to, then they'll have another meeting the next night with the 2 towns. All the voters of the 2 towns to try to get they're
That's
just
crazy.
pushing that for everything they can right now. And, it's very
I know.
annoying.
yeah.
They're a very annoying group. And an awful lot of the problem is the personalities on the school committee. They just don't want to cooperate. And they want to run everything their way, whatever it is. They're quite arbitrary, I think.
Well, they can't support their requests, as far as I know, or they haven't.
They came to the finance committee this week on Wednesday, and the results were more of the same. So what the finance committee's gonna do at this town meeting, I don't know. And I dread the whole thing, because we're just gonna go have town meeting and go through whatever and do whatever we do and go home, but we've gotta set up for a whole mess of people. It's likely to be more people at it than we're at annual. And, it's just very frustrating. Otherwise, on the demolition front, there's a thing for exploratory demolition at Carl Matthews' house, which was built about 1907 or something like that. And I don't know what it is, I mean, it's interior stuff, I think, but it's
Is that
nothing-
where Mary Ellen lived? No.
No, that's
Do you
where
want this?
Carl lives,
Oh, thank you.
on Boylston Road, 97 Boylston.
Halfway out.
Yeah.
You've got
And
one.
I talked to Leanne, and she was looking to get more specific about it too, but
You know what, I didn't make
um,
a copy for you.
the other thing is
I
the,
can-
Okay,
Yeah.
I was thinking,
the barn on South Commons, they haven't filed for a permit yet, so we don't have to act, but the town voted to tear it down
Right.
at town meeting. So therefore, when it comes to our table, we can just say, the town's voted to tear it down, that means the public doesn't care about it, so
It's already been.
we can
Did it,
dispose
yeah.
of it. But
So you want to put that on your site?
what I did,
You need a good copy.
was doing some house cleaning in my records and in my CDs, and I found a CD.
you found the file with the
All
electronic
of
file
these.
for this, yeah.
Yes,
How do they look?
well, they look great.
They look fine.
They look fine, because they're on a CD, because
Yeah.
those were copied, so I
Yeah.
just need Barry to make sure that these are correct, that's all.
Hmm?
Just to make sure that this is all updated correctly, that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, I'm gonna put that on, and, if we're gonna do a little, but people have really enjoyed what, Walter's been doing with all those pictures.
Yeah.
Why don't we make a booklet?
What?
Why don't we make a booklet of it?
Make a what?
A booklet.
Cost money?
Well, I know we could sell it.
No,
It also costs.
You don't think so?
time.
I don't wanna do that. You
I-
just,
I like having all those things. I
Well-
want people just to be careful that we know we are on overload already, so let's not do too many.
It
But,
just costs money.
but that was what you said
Yeah.
you wanted to do, so I have to trust that your judgment that you're not
Well,
driving yourself into the ground.
no,
and
I'm
worried
not gonna
about
do it
it.
right away.
I
Oh,
certainly
okay.
would,
Okay.
I think we need a motion to adjourn, and then,
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
second.
all those in favor?
Aye.